Hey Monster Hunters, so I'm going to talk about a tool that I use to kind of randomly generate NPCs. The way I DM is very much kind of winging it because my players there's 5 of them, and if you think you can outsmart 5 different people, you are wrong and probably should check your ego. So I usually look at things and have some idea of where it's going to go. I know the surrounding atmosphere of the story, and then I randomly generate other things so that I always have tools to gain access to and give my players something to go down for the path that they want to go down. So this is an NPC generator, and the way you use it, it's super easy. We have 6 die 6. I recommend getting like 6 different colored die 6s so that you can roll this all at once. But you take your die 6s and you make a chart. So I'm going to give you the charts that I use. So these first 2 charts are kind of how the character acts. So on the first chart we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first one is emotional, persuasive, and the next one is persuasive, then artistic. 4 is indecisive, 5 is intuitive, 6 is stoic. You want to keep these separate because if you have opposing ideas, for example emotional and stoic, you don't want to get both of those in a dice roll. So this is how the players or the NPC will portray themselves a lot. The next chart is another way that the character acts. So you want 2 of these so you can really hone in how they act. Otherwise you get characters that are very samey. So a 1 is graceful, 2 is imaginative, 3 is free-spirited, 4 is uptight, 5 is romantic, 6 is clumsy. Again, graceful and clumsy, they're opposed, so you don't want those to come up together. Free-spirited and uptight are opposite. Romantic and imaginative could go together, but I'm kind of putting these as a thing. So you could roll them, say you get a 1 and you get a 6. They're very emotional and they're clumsy. So they're going to act this way when interacting with the players, and that's going to give the players a real easy way to remember the character. And I totally recommend having a like 100 names that you can pull from. Alright, so that's kind of like how the character acts. These next 2 charts are all about how they react to their friends, their family, basically how they socialize. So in this first group we have 1 being loyal, 2 being a follower, 3 being cowardly, 4 being brave, 5 being disloyal, and 6 being a leader. So this is how they kind of interact with the group. Obviously we have the same issue. We have leader and follower. These don't match, that's why they're together in one list. So if you're making your own list and you have some opposites, make sure they're on the same chart. Next, also for how they interact with other people, is kind of like their demeanor. So when you roll a 1, it's self-serving, 2 optimistic, 3 stubborn, 4 generous, 5 pessimistic, I apologize, pessimistic, and 6 is sneaky. Alright, so this lets the players kind of see, like, as they interact with them, they might try to lead the party towards something, they might not, or they might be cowardly and try to avoid stuff. And this really kind of feeds into like why they're doing the kind of motivation. So if they're a leader, maybe they're a self-serving leader, like they're leading for their own power. Maybe they're a leader because they're stubborn. Maybe they're a leader because they're generous and they're trying to make everything better and they want to take the burden upon themselves. Maybe they're a leader because they're pessimistic and they don't think anyone else can do it. Maybe they're a leader because they're sneaky, because they're trying to get something without anyone else knowing. So you want to roll these together to really see what is the motivation for acting this way. And then lastly, we have Boon and Bane. This is to the stats, so when you're actually rolling up the NPC, you get to know what's going to be their stats. So, super easy. 1 is strength, 2 is dexterity, 3 is con, 4 is intelligence, 5 is wisdom, and 6 is charisma. So, if it's a boon, give them a +2 to the stat. If it's a bane, give them a -2 to the stat. And so you can see that the creatures could get no boon and no bane. If they roll 1 twice, then their stats aren't going to change. The best thing about this is it's a great random magical effect to happen. Have the right players roll 2d6, tell them the result of one and tell them the result of another, and then just have those stats switch. That was a fun curse that I've done. Alright, so for this last bit of the video, let's take a moment to kind of randomly draw up a character. So I'm going to pull out some dice 6s. Alright, so I got a 6 and a 2 for that first chart. So they're stoic and imaginative. So to me, this immediately screams they're always in their head. They're always imagining something great. So they're not saying much and they're not feeling much because everything's already going on in their head, and their face is just really stone-faced. So I think that's a really interesting way for the characters to go, because it'll take some digging for the players to know what this character is about. They could have tons of plans and tons of ideas about what's going on, but maybe they've been shut down by society so much that they don't want to express their ideas because they've been teased for thinking outside the box. So next, let's see how they act in a group. I got 3 and 6. So cowardly and sneaky. So that kind of goes into the stoic and imaginative thing. So they're being sneaky. They're hiding their ideas from people, and they're cowardly. They just locked themselves in when they are shunned by society. So they no longer want to interact with people. They want to keep their ideas inside, and they just want to go about doing their own business. Now lastly, boon and strength. This is a good way to kind of determine what kind of class they are. And I got 5 and 5, so there's no boon and strength, so they could be anything. Their wisdom, so maybe you could even think of it this way. Sometimes they're really insightful, they're really wise, and other times they just kind of fail and they're not that wise. So that's another thing. They can have an intense biorhythm. Pulling from one of my favorite games, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, where they have biorhythm, where their stats would fluctuate depending on which turn it is. So maybe if you get the same dice roll, have it be like that. Maybe they seem really insightful sometimes and really just oblivious other days. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you use this to your benefit and become a better DM, and maybe make a little bit less work for yourselves so that you can kind of just come up, improve your improv skills, and yeah, enjoy, share it with your friends. If you like it, subscribe, and please, if you have a monster that you want me to go over to see what kind of magical item to make, leave that down in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, keep rolling.